our E-classes after the story for all ages. And if you notice this beautiful set of flowers, they are donated by Miss Ellie Wells, who at 9 years old is the youngest member of the flower committee. Yay, Ellie. And to my understanding, these are from their garden. So wonderful, wonderful job, beautiful flowers. So thank you. Okay, please silence all devices as we center ourselves on today's service and listen to the prelude.
I invite the singers of our vocal ensemble Prism forward to sing To the Four Directions this morning with Mother Earth, Beloved Garden by Amanda Udis Kessler.
Thank you. That was beautiful. If you will please rise and join me in our congregational covenant in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is the sacrament, and service is its prayer. to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. Our community is founded on deeds, not creeds. We are a covenantal religion, which means we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. We place love at the center of our values, embracing and welcoming all people. We are delighted to welcome our guests and visitors today. I believe George Storego is going to be handing the mic out to our visitors. Okay, if you would like to, if you're willing and able, please stand and wait for the microphone to reach you, then share your name and where you're from. If you've brought guests, we invite you to introduce them as well.
Any guests that would like to say hello?
Thank you, George. It was an easy job. Woo-hoo! Thank you, George. All right. Today's chalice lighter, oh, wait, let me forget. If you'd like to learn more about the UUCC, visitor cards are in the pocket on the back of each chair. Please fill one out and place it in the collection plate so we can email you about events. Our board members and committee members wear green name tags. And thank you for being here, even if you didn't want to speak up and introduce yourself. Okay. Today's chalice lighter is Katie Long. Okay. Katie, she has been coming to the UU for at least 10 years now. She enjoys working in the nursery here at the UUCC, and she's also a member of CUUPs. Spirit? No. Sorry. Okay. Spirit of light and life, come unto us. And our opening hymn is hymn 123, Spirit of Life.
It's my pleasure to welcome Karen Peters and Kathy Paget to join on strings for our hymns today. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing the beloved 123, Spirit of Life.
invite the children to come forward for the story of all ages with Matthew Donahue. Matthew is an ordained pagan minister who actually officiated the wedding here for Sarah, Emily, and Will.
Okay, I'm going to be reading The Rainbow Goblins. Never read this one before. This is suggested by Christina. Once there was a land that lived in fear of 7 goblins. They were called the Rainbow Goblins. And each had his own color, which was also his name: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Yellow, being the craftiest one, was their chief. The goblin lived on color. They prowled the valleys and climbed the highest mountains looking for rainbows, and when they found one, they caught it with their lassos, sucked the color out, and filled their bellies with its bright liquid. Only one place in the land that had never known the goblin fear, the hidden valley called the Valley of the Rainbow, where the gray arches of color were born. There the animals lived in paradise, but the rainbow goblins had heard tales of this valley, and their mouths watered whenever they thought of the feast that awaited them from there. And so they gathered up their lassos and their pails and set off. With great effort, the goblins made their way over the jagged piles of rock and guarded the entrance. When the climbing became difficult, Yellow roared, "Don't lose heart, comrades. Think of the delicious colors ahead." Ooh, look at that. That's pretty.
A big rainbow.
Yeah. The sun had almost set by the time they reached their goal, the very meadow where the rainbow sprang to life. Immediately beneath the meadow, they found a cave. "We'll spend the night here," the yellow goblin commanded. When the moon rose and saw them warming themselves around the fire they had lit, it shouted in alarm, "The rainbow goblins are in the valley." The trees and the bushes took up the cry, and the flowers and the grasses and the animals and the waters passed it on, and by midnight the evil tidings had spread throughout the valley. The goblins could hardly contain their excitement. "Soon all of the colors of the rainbows will be ours," Yellow gloated. "We'll snatch it as it rises," said Green. "When the colors are still fresh and creamy," the blue goblin cackled. "Look at the roots dangling from the walls. They're straining to hear our plans. A lot of good it will do them, or their friend the rainbow." Look at the goblins scheming in the cave. They're getting ready to go. Finally, exhausted by their scheming, the goblins fell asleep. Outside, the moon shone on the mirror-like surface of the water, and its magical light was reflected into the cave. Look at that. Then all 7 goblins had a wonderful dream, the same wonderful dream about the paradise of Rainbow Land, where all you had to do was lie on your back and open your mouth, and all most succulent colors dripped down their throat. The dream went on and on. The greedy goblins drank and drank, and at dawn, just as their bellies were about to burst, they awakened by the distant clap of thunder.
They look like a balloon.
What'd you say?
Those do not look like goblins. They look like balloons.
They look like balloons. The goblins sprang to their feet and rushed to the mouth of the cave. A storm, Red shouted. Look how the wind is driving it towards us, Orange cried. And all the goblins danced and pranced about in glee, for they knew that after the wildest morning thunderstorm comes the most beautiful rainbow. Ooh, look at that. That's pretty. Yellow was so proud of his plan of attack that he went over it again, while each goblin tested his lasso. Red, don't forget, you must seize the red flank. And I move on to the right, and Violet Goblin bursted out excitedly. Before the last roll of thunder had faded from the valley, the goblins took up their pails and lassos and marched single file out of the cave. The sight that greeted them when they reached the meadow took their breath away. The rising arch of the rainbow, so rich with color and promise, it almost blinded them. Trembling with excitement, Yellow finally managed to give the signal to attack. The goblins swung their lassos around and hurled them into the sky, but the same instant the rainbow vanished as if it had been swallowed up by the earth. The goblins were dumbfounded. Nothing like this had never happened to them before. They stared up at the empty, outstretched lassos, which a second later snapped back at them. Indigo wept, Blue cursed, Yellow stumbled, Orange cried out, treachery. Violet trembled into the grass, Red raged. But the more they trashed about, the more tangled became their lassos, until they had snarled themselves into a grunting, groaning mass of goblins on the ground. As they lay there helplessly, a flood of colors poured forth from the flowers of the meadow. The flowers, screamed Blue Goblin, the flowers. They had suddenly remembered the dangling roots had made fun of them in the cave. Through the roots, the flowers had heard the goblins' plans and had devised a counter plan to save the rainbow. The moment the attack was launched, the flowers had drained the colors of the rainbow into their petals, and as soon as the goblins became ensnared in their own lassos, the petals let loose their deluge. So the goblins drowned in the colors they had come to steal, and no one in the valley wept for them. The rainbow itself was reborn more magnificently than ever. Out of gratitude, it lifted up the flowers and saved and transformed them into glittering dragonflies and butterflies and splendidly plump birds. Look at that, that's pretty. Ooh. But since that time, the rainbow had become more cautious. Now when it arches across the sky, it is careful not to touch the earth anywhere. No matter how you try to sneak up on it, you can never come to the place where it begins or ends. And that's it.
Please join me in singing the children out. Learn your lessons well, my children. Seek your truth in the wide unknown. Love each other, work together, and search for wisdom and happiness.
And now Sarah Emily with the opening words for today.
Our opening words for today come from the UUA website, actually, which is A Prayer Against Apathy by Nicholas D'Agosto. Nature is only ever at work. Take stock of the world around you, constantly in movement, each action suited to its end. Fire with its ferocity and veracity devours, ignites, it roars in its presence and illuminates the front. From it people recoil. It singes and scars, but it also clears space. Some of us must act like fire. Water with its elegant erosive powers, steady is the flow of its work with direction, sustainability. A river is what nourishes and carves, not a typhoon which destroys indiscriminately, recedes, and leaves the people in drought. Some of us must act like water. Earth with its food to eat and generative soil, its many forms of living companions to comfort us in times of solitude, of loss. Earth rejuvenates and holds us. Some of us must act like earth. Air so integral to all of us, we must remind ourselves to notice our breath. Not one of us lives without of it. Not one of us is untouched by it. It cannot help but give and forgive. Single-minded, it knows everything as one. Some of us must act like air. May we each model in our natures the best in nature, eternally changing, knowing only movement and an urge to create life. Amen and blessed be.
Okay, somebody's car. All right. A gray Mazda? Okay. All right, and thank you, Sarah Emily. Now it's time for our Candles of Community. If you have a personal joy, sorrow, or concern to share from this pulpit, you can text or email our administrator by noon on Friday. You can also pick up a candle in the foyer before the service to share in person. We'd like to let everyone know that we have an active caring committee whose members wear yellow name tags and are available to those in need. If you have a candle, please come forward and briefly share your joy or concern.
Good morning, my name's Kathy Paget. I have two joys and one, not a concern, but a sadness. So the two joys are associated with our wonderful independent bookstore on Hardin Street called All Good Books. Recently received an incredibly wonderful certification, which is called B Corps. And there's a website for B Corps, so I'm not going to provide much detail, but it is a tremendous feather in the cap of our independent bookstore. Some of us are senior enough to remember the Happy Bookseller in Trenton Plaza, and in my heart, All Good Books is taking that place. And the B Corps certification basically is a global movement to honor businesses that are not just trying to make money, but they're trying to make a difference. Balancing profit with purpose, profit with entrepreneurship. And if you go into All Good Books, which is what I did on Saturday, you'll see a community table where there are art classes, there are discussion groups, there are book clubs, so many nooks to just sit in and read. And I think I really noticed how people were talking to each other and not looking at their phones. And that was a joy. The next joy associated with that bookstore is that I have started reading to the children on Saturdays, and around Earth Day, I read a book about the earth and taking care of the earth, and I played my ukulele. about a song related to the earth and children. And May 9th, the day before Mother's Day, I'll be reading to them again and playing a song about mothers. So I'm looking forward to that. My sadness is that my musical partner and friend Karen is leaving for the summer, and I will miss her. I wish her and Elliot and Max safe travels and a return when fall comes.
Hi everyone, my name's Elisa, and today I have a concern. It's not the first time I've come up here to talk about my Nan. Her health has not been the best over the past couple of years. And these past couple of days, me and my mom have been spending a lot of time in the Lexington Hospital after my Nan had suffered a fall. And ever since, she's kind of been out of it, and she's been hallucinating, and she doesn't really know where she is. And she's been seeing dead family members in her room. And so we're suspecting that we're getting close to the end. And so I'm just here to ask for good vibes, and if you believe in prayers, for some of those, because we're just kind of on the journey of supporting her for whatever she needs and calling family members to let them know and all of that. So thank you guys.
I'm Susan Robinson. I am the mother of new member Blake Carlton. Couldn't resist that. This is a candle of gratitude that you take me back every time I come, that I am in demand, wanted at both sides of the country by my family, and fortunate to be able to still do it. I'm gonna go back to Portland, Oregon this week in time for my grandson's 12th birthday. And I am grateful to all of you, this wonderful congregation, and so pleased. I always cry up here. I'm so pleased that the pilgrims are going again. Yet another group of pilgrims I'll be watching. You know, I can watch this service a lot more easily than I watch the other one. We're always having coffee hour here when it's 10:15 in Portland, so I miss that service all the time. But I try to watch this one, so I'll keep up with all of you and watch the candles and hear your personal concerns and news. And just know I care, and I'm grateful.
Oh.
I'm Deb Matherly, and this is a candle of joy and celebration for Tom Clements, who does not like to be recognized, but he has done so much with the Savannah River site, with getting people understanding the danger of developing new plutonium pits and all that, and what a huge boondoggle it is. And so thank you, Tom, for making it known to all the world, really, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Lydia. I'm doing a candle of celebration and joy for a really fun talent show we had last night with the kids. So I don't know, some of you were here and able to come. We had some wonderful guest performers from the congregation, and Anna did a beautiful job of organizing the kids. So we have some great talent, and we had a lot of fun celebrating the kids last night. So cheers.
And if everybody else is gone, I do have a joy that my son, Tommy, is moving home, and he comes back home on Tuesday, so may he have a safe journey as he travels homeward bound. And now we light one final candle for all the silent joys and concerns that are unspoken. Oh, I'm a fire person. I ain't gonna get burned. That's why I did it like that. And now we would have a moment of silence, of meditation to reflect on all that we've heard. Thank you. And now it's the time for sharing our abundance. This congregation proudly participates in the Michael Sullivan Share the Plate initiative, where half our monthly cash collection is donated to a local charity. It's our way of giving back and supporting our community. Speaking on behalf of this month's Share the Plate recipient, Mercy, we welcome Caroline Kearns. Caroline?
Good morning. Can everyone hear me clearly? Okay, good. I want to thank y'all for having me. This is the third time that I've gotten to come and speak with this congregation. I see some familiar faces, and it's always good to be here, not only because of the generosity that this congregation provides, but also just the warm, kind welcome that is always here each time I come to visit with y'all. So I know whenever I donate some money somewhere, I always want to know, what are they going to do with it? You know, like what's actually happening with the money that I'm donating? And so at Mercy, which stands for the Mental Illness Recovery Center Incorporated, MIRCI, we provide behavioral health services to individuals in our community who have been diagnosed with a severe and persistent mental illness. And what that means is there are a couple of diagnoses that fall into that category: schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, and major depression. And what we have found with those specific diagnoses is a majority of the people who have been diagnosed have a very difficult time completing some regular tasks that you and I might find incredibly easy. Maintaining housing, maintaining a job, managing their finances, interacting with individuals on a regular basis. So Mercy provides services to people in our community regardless of their funding status. We do bill Medicaid, as a lot of y'all in this room know, has been a hot topic, and we're a little worried about financial cuts to the Medicaid system and what that's going to look like in the future. We have lost some of our funding. It's kind of shifted around a little bit. But we are fortunate enough to have people like this congregation who support the work that we do and make that possible at no cost to any of our clients. So money that your congregation or you as an individual decide to donate will go towards housing supplies for someone who we are able to move into a supportive housing opportunity for them. It goes to the individuals that need behavioral health services, who need medication, who need psychiatric evaluations, who need services from myself and my coworkers who are licensed therapists. All of those services come at no cost to them. Nobody ever receives a bill. And so the money that y'all donate today not only provides an opportunity for me to come up here and talk to y'all, but also the people in our community. They would not be where they are today without y'all's help. I was at an event on Friday. I don't know, has anybody heard of Family Promise before? Is anybody familiar with that? So Family Promise had their yearly gala, tomato, on Friday. And one of the speakers there and I'll leave y'all with this comment, he talked about how a community does not change itself. Without the work and the deeds of everyone in this community, our neighbors don't really stand a chance. And we don't either, to be honest. It takes all of us together to try and improve situations for people, try and get the basic needs for them. So I just, again, appreciate everything that y'all do for Mercy each year. Again, this is my third time coming, and I'm just so thankful that we have a congregation like this in our community. I will be around after the service, so if anybody has specific questions about Mercy, I know my coworker Jack was here earlier in the month, so if you didn't get a chance to speak with him, please, come up and find me. I will be more than happy to talk to you about referrals, exactly kind of the services that we do provide. But I just thank you for providing those basic needs and the ability for individuals to access these needed services. Thank you.
If you'd like to contribute to the Share the Plate, please write Share the Plate in the memo line of your check or on your donation envelope. Thank you for your generosity. You want to introduce the song?
It's my pleasure to invite Sarah forward to sing our offertory selection for today, Colors of the Wind.
If the ushers will please come forward. Will the ushers please come forward?
Think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the great horned moon, or asked the grinning bobcat why he grins? Can you sing with all the voices of a mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brother. The heron and the otter are my friend, and we are all connected to each other in a circle and a loop that never ends. How high can the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue-corn moon. For whether we have light or darker skin, we need to sing with all the voices of a mountain. We need to paint with all the voices of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is dirt until you can paint
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. That was just such a good song. She did that so beautifully. Now I've lost my place. We sincerely appreciate these gifts which reflect the generosity and kindness of our communities. Thank you. And now, Sarah Emily.
The troubles of a floor-length dress. Good morning. So, all right, can you guys hear me a little bit better now? Okay, great. So, as you all may know, we are here to honor the turning of the wheel, as it is called, and to celebrate Beltane. It is our pleasure to host Beltane services here at the UUCC, and it has been for the past 3 years now. And it has quickly become one of our favorite annual traditions in recent memory. Last year, we discussed the origins and history of Beltane and its connections to the Phoenix, as well as its cultural associations and its increasing importance and significance in this day and age. In the previous year, we imparted the importance of personal practice and reintroduced folks here to CUUPs and what it is that we do. I'd like to take today to revisit that. Who are we? What do we do? And what is CUUPs? CUUPs, spelled with 2 U's, stands for the Covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Pagans. Gaia's Rising CUUPs, our chapter here at the UUCC, is one of the 27 Southeastern chapters here in the CUUPs Continental Organization, and one of the many chapters across the United States. These chapters, like Gaia's, are all a part of their UU congregations, and that is just in the Bible Belt, folks. The goal of CUUPs is to honor earth-centered, tribal, and pagan spiritual paths. It is a UU paganism, and it is community-based and instilled with UU values. You may think, how much of a leap it must have been to go from Unitarian Universalism to paganism. But really, it's not much of one at all. Actually, I go further to say that the values we hold at CUUPs are core Unitarian Universalist ideas. So as we've explored with Reverend Stephen in some of his previous sermons, the history of the founding of this country is steeped in UU ideas. The founders of this country were influenced by the writings of philosophers and Enlightenment thinkers, the writings of John Locke and Thomas Paine, for example. These Enlightenment authors had a commonality of belief through the concept of deism, the nature and existence of one supreme being as the creator of the universe revealed through nature. In addition to deism, there was also the Universalist movement occurring in the country at the time. Universalism spread among the people, and of these grassroots ideas, one of the most important concepts Universalists had was that of universal reconciliation, that all would eventually be reconciled in right relationship with God through divine love and mercy. Also at the center of the founding of this country is, of course, Unitarianism. John Adams was a Unitarian, while Thomas Jefferson held Unitarian and deistic beliefs and ideals. As many of us already know, the historical understanding of Unitarianism, like deism, reaffirms the oneness of their understanding of God as the creator and goes further by acknowledging the fallibility of humans and our institutions. These philosophical and spiritual ideologies found themselves quite at home here on the American continent, along the coastlines of New England and deep in the bones of Appalachia. There was connection. The indigenous Native American peoples may have had differing traditions from one another, but a common idea that found them was a deep respect for the interconnectedness of the world around them. However, as we start to move into the 19th century, we see spiritual and philosophical movements, such as the Transcendentalist movement, which is what brought me to my own individual appreciation of UU values and ideas. Transcendentalism teaches the idea that people are inherently good, and that intuition and self-revelation for deepest truths are essential. Transcendentalism was born out of Unitarianism as a philosophy and practice that emphasized a more unique and intense personal spiritual experience for individuals, especially when interacting with nature. Those who identify as transcendentalists have a deep respect and appreciation for nature, and nature is a part of the tools given to the individual to experience truth, with a capital T, directly from the natural world. Some elder Unitarians at that point in time disagreed with transcendentalism at best, and at worst might have even cried heresy, due to its emphasis on intuition over logic, and thus complicated Unitarian ideology at that time. Even so, it was due to these very Unitarian ideas and that very Unitarian theology that Transcendentalism itself was birthed right here in America. Now, many of us might look at figures such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and Louisa May Alcott as examples of exemplary UUs, when in their time they may have even been seen as going against the grain of mainstream thought, even in Unitarianism. Transcendentalism's birth out of Unitarianism, along with romantic ideas that circulated around this time, all had the commonality of rejecting the confining social conventions of the time and the birth of the Industrial Revolution. As the US and Unitarianism continued to change, moving from the 19th century and into the 20th, we started to see an embrace of the developments of the modern age, an embrace of scientific discoveries, an embrace of new ways of thinking. The mid-20th century saw a majority of this change, not just in Unitarianism, with the American Unitarian Association and the Universalist Church of America merging into the Unitarian Universalist Association in 1961, but also with the larger countercultural revolution. The 1960s countercultural movement was a radical movement that rejected cultural norms and advocated for peace, for love, for social justice reform, and overall revolution. This counterculture advocated for alternative approaches to life, through authentic experiences and expression, through individuality and a betterment for the collective and common good. If we think about it, it harkens back to those transcendentalist ideas that were expressed a century before. Along with the ideas of the countercultural movement of the 1960s came the desire of authentic and intimate expression in spirituality. The definition between religion and spirituality seemed to become more distinct. Individual experience of the divine was prized over dogma. There was also a resurgence of Native American spirituality. The American Indian Religious Freedom Act of 1978 allowed many Native peoples to again hold sacred ceremonies and religious practices in the US, which prior to this legislation was prohibited, which is insane for the land of religious freedom. But many Native peoples began taking back their native spirituality, and some allowed peoples of other ethnicities to participate in their native practices, though this practice was not universal and is still a topic of debate in these communities. So from that countercultural revolution, the spirit of America diversified even more so. Other ideas that began to gain traction around the mid-20th century were forms of earth-based spirituality and neo-paganism. Neo-Druidism while existing in the US as early as the late 19th century, found a resurgence of interest during this time. Wicca, which is a syncretic, earth-based religion, began gaining traction in the United States and became popular as an underground belief system, especially during the countercultural movement of the 1960s. With much diversity and religion occurring during this time, it is from the roots of feminism, actually, that UU paganism had its origins. It was on the heels of second wave feminism specifically, and that second wave feminist movement, that the inclusion of the divine feminine, or at least including more women in active roles of spiritual leadership, occurred. While ideas of a female deity were re-explored by some 19th century first wave feminists, such as Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Matilda Jocelyn Gage, it was really the era of second wave feminists and in second wave feminism where the idea of the goddess movement became widespread, producing literature such as Carol P. Christ's Why Women Need the Goddess and Starhawk's The Spiral Dance, which became staples of this movement. While Carol P. Christ's work focused on the symbolism of the goddess, being necessary as an affirmation of feminine power, feminine will, and women's divine heritage, Starhawk's The Spiral Dance offered a spiritual framework and a practice that made it revolutionary at its time. These feminist perspectives began to solidify themselves into new neo-pagan branches of modern practice. Traditions such as Dianic Wicca and the reclaiming or reclaimer tradition, which emphasized and focused on the worship and veneration of the divine feminine, emerged. As an organization with an active and progressive base, the Unitarian Universalist Association proposed and passed the Women in Religion Resolution of 1977 at their General Assembly. This resolution encouraged all UUs to examine the roots of sexism and to establish the Women in Religion Committee. The primary function of this committee was to develop educational materials regarding women in religion and to focus on women in leadership at the UUA. Though this reform was mainly the undertaking of UU humanists and liberal Christians, some were beginning to search for an alternative to the patriarchal, traditional, and masculine nature of a belief system that they were a part of, and hoping to find the divine feminine, or at least more feminist representation in their worship. This resolution led to the Feminist Theology Convocation of 1980, held in East Lansing, Michigan. One of the pioneers of this endeavor was Lucille Shuck Longsview, a liberation feminist and activist who committed much of her life to addressing the injustices of societies. She not only pioneered the Women and Religion Resolution, but the Battered Women Resolution of 1979 and Patriarchy of 1980. As a result of her initiative, the UUA denomination added to its principles the seventh principle: the covenant to affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. Lucille was also described as an avid outdoors woman and a lover of nature during her life as she passed in 2010. The 1980 Feminist Theology Convocation in East Lansing also had the earliest known pagan worship service at a UU congregation, the discussion of goddess-based practices, and the first ever water communion, hosted by Lucille herself and Carolyn McDade, something that our congregation, along with many others, continues as a favorite tradition. As an aside, the name Carolyn McDade may sound familiar to you, as she has written 3 songs in the Singing the Living Tradition hymnal. Number 121, We'll Build a Land. Number 123, Spirit of Life, which we sang this morning. And number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. A lifelong activist and fighter for progressive causes, she quickly immersed herself in the groups of women activists rising up in Boston across the country in the mid-1970s. Early on, she joined with the women and religion groups within the UUA, demanding a place for women's spirituality. The water communion was conceived when McDade and one of the movement's leaders, Lucille Shuck Longview, in 1980 conceived the water ceremony as a way for women who lived far apart to connect the work that each was doing locally to the whole. Each woman brought a jar of water from the place that she lived, and during the ceremony poured it into a bowl, naming what was precious to her, and then dipping her hands into the water that they'd combined. Each would bless the woman next to her, imparting the strength to continue her work. From the feminist theology convocation of 1980 on, the practice of UU paganism continued to grow and to flourish. By the 1985 Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly, the Covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Pagans, CUUPs, was formed, and it was officially chartered in 1987. CUUPs is an organization of UU paganism, believes in the celebration of many earth-centered, tribal, and pagan spiritual traditions, philosophies, and paths. As a diverse theological and theological community open to those in alignment with UU purposes, values, and principles, CUUPs honors diversity and respect for all, especially respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. Our chapter here at the UUCC, Gaia's Rising CUUPs, has been a part of this congregation since the 1990s. So long, in fact, that I cannot tell you the year that it began. However, what I can tell you for certain is that this chapter itself has been around for at least 30 years or more. This means, from a historical perspective, that this specific chapter of CUUPs is one of the oldest to exist, and possibly one of the first few established. To me, and to many others, it is a sacred and welcoming space that has led me to my own practice and led me to this congregation, as well as many others. As a CUUPs chapter, Gaia's Rising offers everyone the opportunity to find and grow through community by learning and exploring paganism and earth-centered spirituality as a whole. As a CUUPs chapter, we believe that the very core of Unitarian Universalist ideology invites the intimacy with the world around us through both individual and collective shared experiences. With its earliest iterations and inceptions of ideology, it rejected cultural norms and it embraced new and modern ways of thinking, even when new ideas such as transcendentalism, the countercultural revolution of the 1960s, and the women and religion resolution found their way into the ideology. These specific ideas breathe new life into the reinvigorated living tradition. For that is why it is called the living tradition. Now, we look back and we cannot imagine what Unitarian Universalism would look like without these things, what it would be like without the ideas of Carolyn McDade and without Lucille Shuck Longview. CUUPs as an organization is dedicated to networking pagan-identified Unitarian Universalists, educating people about paganism, promoting interfaith dialogue, and developing pagan liturgies and theologies, and supporting pagan-identified UU religious professionals. In our chapter, we weave a sacred space where we learn and explore paganism and various expressions of earth-centered spirituality, myth, and magic. These values of exploring eclectic, earth-based spirituality are absolutely in alignment with Unitarian Universalism. Unitarian Universalism is an inclusive spirituality that honors the beautiful tapestry of religious diversity. It rejects the ideas of uniformity and conformity, that multiple paths can lead to spiritual growth. direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit. We are a part of the living tradition that draws from many sources. Today, we celebrate Beltane, a time of rebirth, of passion, of new beginnings. Again, the etymology of the word Beltane means bright fire. And again, the most common symbolism for this holiday is fire. And what have we lit to begin the start of this service? What is the very symbol of Unitarian Universalism? The chalice fire, which symbolizes sacrifice, love, and the fire of commitment. It is from the fire of commitment that I now speak when I say, we vow to share our knowledge, our perspective, and our passion for our path, as well as our practices and traditions, as it says in our covenant statement. We vow to be an active part of the larger UUCC congregation. As Reverend Dr. Neil Jones reminded us all last week with our Earth Day sermon, we are all connected to each other, again, just like we heard this morning. And just as we are all connected to this sacred earth that we are all a part, so too are we connected to the sacred congregation of which we are all a part. As we sang in our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home, last week as well, we are all drifting here with our ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls. Let us move forward together. As one, let us open our hearts to the sacredness of our community and the nature around us, as well as the planet. And let us open our hearts to one another. Let us continue weaving this beautiful tapestry, this interdependent web of existence, of which we are all a part. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Emily. And our closing hymn today is number 91, Mother of All.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing hymn number 91, Mother of All.
And now our closing words.
Our closing words today, again, come from the UUA website. Sacred paths. Rivers and streams follow their own courses, but the water molecules are indistinguishable. No one would confuse a candle flame for lava, yet in each the fire dances. An invisible force both knocks down trees and holds birds aloft. The air remains indifferent to its uses. Diamond, desert, Denali, and dirt each tell their different stories, all with the earth as protagonist. Whatever our sacred paths, whatever our beliefs and our practices, however we gather in community, we all honor the spirit of life, the spirit of compassion, the spirit of justice, and the spirit of love. How many stars are in the sky? All of them. Blessed be.
And as we extinguish this chalice at the close of our time today, may its light gently warm our hearts and guide our steps until we gather again.
Please join in singing our congregational benediction.
If you could please hold on for just a moment for a few quick announcements. You're welcome to be seated during the announcements. In addition to the Beltane Metaphysical Fair taking place in our social hall after the service, the Finance Committee will present an overview of the fiscal year 26-27 budget at 12:30 p.m. here in the sanctuary. You are encouraged to attend. The first planning meeting for the annual, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Palinsinyaga Fashion and Dog Show, a fundraiser that also promotes the adoption of shelter dogs who walk the runway with their human model counterparts, will be held at 2 p.m. this afternoon in room 8 for the CYRE wing. We look forward to seeing you there. Any other announcements? Sarah, Emily?
Okay. Hi. So it will probably take a little bit to finish setting up for the Beltane Fun Fair. So please enjoy the social hall and take your time. It might take a little bit of time to set up, but yeah, just hang tight, and please feel free to stay for the ritual and for the maypole.
Thank you. And as our time together comes to a close, before you leave, please take a few minutes to welcome our visitors. Some of them just didn't feel like announcing themselves, and greet those that are around you. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.